Hi, welcome to this webinar about easy personalization for React websites. This is a cooperation between Frosmo, AmazeRealise and Contentful. I'm Riikka, and then there's Rowan from Contentful, Martin and James from AmazeRealise. And the agenda today is that we will go through first the content infrastructure, understand what is it for agile e-commerce, then discuss a bit about business needs and how to have dynamic content and personalized customer journeys on React-based websites. And then at the end, we'll go more into the practical side and learn how end-to-end examples can be built with the business requirements on React-based sites. From here, can I hand it over to you, Rowan? So you can start with the understanding content infrastructure for agile e-commerce.
Thank you very much. I would like to talk a bit about content infrastructure and how it plays into agile e-commerce. Really quick about myself. My name is Ruben. I've been with Contentful for almost 4 years now. I'm a developer relations team manager. That means I manage our developer relations team. Used to be a developer evangelist myself. Still am, actually. And the main driver we're seeing today in a lot of things is that content needs to fit into more places. It's not just the web anymore, which has been the domain of content management systems for many, many years now, but you have many new platforms for mobile phones, wearables, TVs, billboards, voice systems, IoT. There's more and more places where content is applicable and companies want to meet the customers wherever and whenever they want to interact with the company. And common legacy CMSs don't really address this. They're generally page-centric. They're not really made to reuse content. They come in monolithic suites that require very specific tools and often heavy customization to meet the needs of the customer. And they really don't integrate into a modern software workflow. They're really not made for this world of continuous integration, continuous delivery. Our vision at Contentful is that stacks beat suites. Traditional monolithic marketing cloud suites with a content management system, with an e-commerce system, with marketing automation work, but many individual tools are often better than the tools you buy as part of the suite. So we work with companies like Frosmo, because we think our customers should pick the best tools for the job and the best tools for their use case. And one of the reasons why this becomes more and more pressing is traditionally CMSs were often abused as application development platforms. As soon as you have an application that is somewhat content driven, it becomes very easy to like, oh, I just use my CMS and I'm going to spice it up. And this is a massive anti-pattern as we think, and also Forrester and ThoughtWorks think so, because these platforms are not built as application platforms. Instead, we think we give you a platform that is content-driven, but allows you to integrate into your usual application flow. And this is what we call a content infrastructure. It's infrastructure for your content and not opinionated. And this allows you to create all kinds of experiences across any platform that is internet connected. Or even not internet connected, because you can even have offline content. And there are 3 rough principles we use to guide our product. The first of it is structured content. We want you to be able to reuse and repurpose content, independent of the channel, the language, or the software platform you want to use for development. We are all about decoupled architectures. We want you to be able to compose the stack of tools that is applicable to your business and to your use case. And it's all about agile workflows. Modern software development tools and workflows are at the core of every modern software team, and Contentful doesn't want to be a foreign entity in this. We need to slot right into these tools and these processes. A little bit more detail about these things. First, structured content. Structured content really is the ultimate separation of content and presentation. You take apart the content that you have. This is an example from our own website, a case study page, and you identify the individual pieces of it. Hero images, text, image carousel, a call to action, pricing information, also links to other products. Maybe you have an external product catalog, And maybe even some layout information, like the information in which order these things are shown or which specific layout to use might be part of your structured content to empower your editors to control it. But it's not the actual presentation. You would not encode the color value or the actual HTML code in Contentful because this is not structured content anymore. It's not repurposable across many different platforms. Very important is we don't give you a content model and you're stuck with it. Instead, you bring your own content model. You need to design the content model fitting your use case, really applicable to your business and how you want to use your content in the future. Do you want to take your content to a non-visual platform? You need to take that into account. You only want to work with visual platforms? You take that into account. The next one is decoupled architectures. A modern website generally needs many tools. This is a very simple static website using an e-commerce shop. You have the content in Contentful, but it's not really part of your website flow. You have your website's code on GitHub or another source code management tool. You might have a search engine like Agolia. You have an e-commerce tool. You have personalization like Frosmo. There's a lot of tools that go into any architecture for a modern website. And we believe there's the best tool for every job. Contentful is a great tool for content management and for nothing else. So we're not trying to tell you how to run your experimentation or how to run your e-commerce store. We just give you the tools to make a seamless integration across these tools. And the last part is agile workflows. The modern DevOps lifecycle is what I hope is adapted by most agile teams these days, where you continuously iterate on things in a hopefully mostly automated fashion, easing daily chores so you can focus on the problems you're trying to solve for your customers. And Contentful needs to fit into this. I'm calling out 3 things here. We have environments, SDKs, and framework integrations to make it faster to build things. We have CI/CD integrations to aid in deployments. And we have our Contentful CLI and our migration tooling to help you continuously evolve code over time, your content model over time, and your code, of course, too. And lastly, this is something that drives results across multiple industries. Whether it's modern stack websites with Red Bull, very highly personal experience with TELUS, a Canadian tech company, agile e-commerce. This approach in Contentful drives impressive results across the industries. Thank you very much, and back to you, Rika.
Thanks. I think especially this structured content is something that you really need when you want to create personalized customer journeys, because then you can just query the API and get whichever content you want to whichever spot and for that particular visitor. So I think that's one of the key connecting points from what you were just showing to what I'm going to talk about now. So what we do here at Frosmo is that we take any data of the visitor and the context where they currently are in, and then we provide this individual experience for each visitor, and then not to forget that we really want to improve conversion, engagement, loyalty, wherever are the important business metrics for you. And if we think of the visitor, we don't quite know, we don't need to know precisely who this person is, but we just want to track what they are doing. And then when it comes to this individual experience, there we want to use that structured content to get what is important for that visitor at that time. And why to do this? None of the visitors that come to the website are usually the same. If we take, for example, Lisa and Robert from this, they have very different characteristics. And if you think that, okay, Robert has already abandoned his shopping cart twice, whereas Lisa is visiting the site the first time, you might not want to give these people the same experience. Perhaps Robert, you want to show hey, these are the items that you left in cart, and also he has purchased with you before, so maybe he doesn't need that much of the social proof to buy from your site. Whereas then Lisa, who is the first time on your website, so you really need to prove Lisa that your shop is the one that where she should be buying from. And I'm going to show you one of the very typical personalization cases here. We use this kind of 4W's to define personalization. So you have your audience being who. So in my example, I'm providing relevant content on the front page. So to my returning visitor, I have identified that they are interested in lenses. And when they come back, they might not have bought it before because they are quite pricey and it's not like an impulsive decision to buy a lens. So then when they come back to the website, I want to show them relevant content about this product that they have been viewing before, and perhaps even here I have a campaign that is relevant to the visitor. And this will give or improve the conversion on our website when we can give the relevant content. But when you create this kind of stuff, we see that there is quite a bit of a problem. Usually the tools that you use for this are manipulating DOM from outside. You might be just like replacing the hero banner, and then we see that this is maybe not the best possible way to do it, because if you use this kind of testing tools that you manipulate DOM with from outside, it is something that is, at least for developers, usually seen as temporary, because you don't want someone to come and mess up with your code. And personalization is not temporary. So whenever you do personalization, it should be built in the architecture that you have there. And then also what we have noticed, this was also an issue that we had earlier, that in personalization and A/B testing tools, now that there are so many single page applications, the support usually for those is limited to URL changes or mutation observers. This is maybe not something that we want either, so we have tried to tick that box off as well with our software. And then the next two, so content should not be stored in multiple places. So you want to have your CMS for all the content, not duplicating the content to another system. And this is where this kind of API where you can query structured content is really good for. And then also you want to have your, just like Rowan said, you want to have your code in GitHub, for example, in one repository and not duplicate the code to another system. And we have created this kind of React connector. James is actually going to demo how the whole flow works in practice. So we want to really complement the React environments with smooth personalization as well as then segmentation, experimentation capabilities without doing this DOM manipulation or then storing additional content in different places or duplicating the code. How it works, I have this kind of illustration. So basically you have your React component, and then that gets the business logic, like who should see this content or component, and then other parameters, how it should appear from Frosmo. And then you query the content just like in a basic Contentful React combination. You query the content from Contentful and then it's rendered on the website. And here you can see that you have your React application, and how we have solved this is that you wrap your components with this Frosmo placement component, and then the Contentful will give you the content into the Frosmo placement content when, Frosmo placement component when Frosmo says that, okay, for this particular visitor, it is okay to show this particular content. But this is something that James will shortly show in practice. I would like to hand it over now to Martin to talk about the fast and flexible implementation of React application, and then to James for the demo.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Martin. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Kin & Carter AmazeRealise. Just a quick bit about what we do. Kind of a FTSE 100 or 250 actually listed company based in London. We have multiple offices around the UK and also in Chicago. So we focus on big end-to-end kind of digital transformations, system integration, and kind of end-to-end customer experience. We've been partners with Contentful for pretty much the day that they began, and we've been advocates for them for a number of clients. So just three names there to mention. So Cooperative, which is one of the largest food retailers in the United Kingdom, use Contentful for their food site. A particularly interesting project from my perspective was Sale GP, which was actually Larry Ellison, who owns Oracle, the database software company, launched a sailing league last year, and we were invited to build the application that ran so the marketing experience for that sort of race series. Pretty intensive development cycle for that one. It was 12 days for the first site, and then slightly longer for the main league. But that was actually kind of really good proof point that Contentful especially is a really good way to get features and software developed quickly without the overheads of proprietary systems. And of course, the proof in the pudding, our own sort of website for Kin & Carter is actually driven as well by Contentful. So just a bit about sort of MarTech in general. I think we're riding a bit of the second wave of marketing technology. And organizations now, so people and process and technology, there's a maturity there now. And as Reuven said, we're transitioning away from the proprietary platforms, software suites, into service-driven approach. It's the best in class of that software blended together, with the standard integration protocols, REST, JSON, GraphQL, etc. in the cloud. And that really for us gives, kind of get the shackles off the development teams, and allows the budget to be invested in them to give them freedom to innovate the actual features that the customers really want, but maybe we're blocked from implementing in legacy platforms because of the cost of licensing, or obviously complex implementations, etc., etc. From our experience, I've personally been in this game for a long time, and most of these content management suites are pretty much overbought for the actual use cases you need. So, for example, you want some personalization on a web platform or mobile, you have to buy a very expensive licensing for that. And these products tend to fade away in the organizations. People have bought them maybe at the C level because they had previous relationships. There's no buy-in in terms of the process required in the organization, and the training complexity, the operational expenditure that's needed to run these as a long-term capability. It kind of fades away very quickly. And I think organizations get, there's a bit of a shock between the evaluation, particularly in an RFP stage, and the reality. So we believe there's kind of a sweet spot, providing core marketing functionality that everybody really wants. So kind of the nucleus essentially. So that's the content delivery platform. So you get the omni-channel delivery by default without any proprietary protocols. You get the personalization functionality, and that can be completely globalized, any region you have. So we call that the brilliant basics. And looking at it, it's actually amazing what you can get, from a Contentful, a Frosmo, and React application, straight out of the box. You get that global, flexible ability to manage across any channel. You can contextualize that experience across any channel you like. The technology stack is universal, pretty much. So React's, very well adopted in the market. There's a big community out there for it. Resources are pretty much widely available, and it's continually developed. And then again, the integration protocols. So, if you're using cloud, you'll be familiar with microservice architectures, REST, obviously GraphQL is taking hold now, and Contentful supports that really well, and using a standard JSON data format. And for a C-suite executive looking at the cost of ownership of this, it's absolutely a fraction, of the cost of the acquisition, implementation, and the OpEx of commercial off-the-shelf products. So, I won't name names, but if you're looking at this from comparative point of view, one of the leading, say for example, Forrester or Gartner platforms, you can acquire this platform as a really best of breed for maybe a fraction of the cost of a single license for one of those commercial products. So it's really appealing for fast product features, and it enables you to redirect that budget that you've got tied up in those proprietary licenses into that innovation. Your own development teams can be expanded, or you can actually spend that money on other high value software to the organization that maybe you previously were unable to unlock because that money was tied up in the proprietary CMS or suite license. So I'll hand over to James Hill. So James works in my technology team at AmazeRealise. He's a senior front-end developer focusing on React. He's been working with Frosmo and Contentful. So we have prepared a demonstration for you which can cover some of the typical use cases. So over to James.
Thanks, Martin. Okay, just a brief overview of what I'm going to be covering. So first of all, I'm going to take you through our simple example application. Then I'm going to be looking at the Contentful setup, including the content model. Thirdly, I'm going to look at the personalization setup in the Frosmo admin UI. And then finally, I'm going to get into the code and take you through the implementation of the Frosmo placement in React itself. So first of all, we've got our demo application here. It's a very simple React app that lists houses for sale. As you can see, we've got a feature property here. Property listing further down, and if I click on one of these, just take me to the relevant product page. It's really all there is to it from a front-end point of view. Okay, I'm going to take you into Contentful now and have a look at the content model. So this is really going back to the structured content approach that Ruben was talking about. In here, this is our product content model, this home content model here. We've got the sort of fields you might expect, title, image, price, description, all this kind of stuff. The really interesting one from our point of view is product category down here. So in here, we've just got some preset options for basic product categories relevant to houses. And then as an example, we'll pick an actual house. So this bungalow in Edinburgh, this is set up using that content model. All these fields populated. And then down here, you'll be able to see in this drop down here, I've got bungalow selected as the category. So next, I'm going to be taking you through the personalization setup in Frosmo. Right, so the first part of this is setting up the actual placement. So this determines where the personalized content will sit on the page and actually provides a mechanism to link it to the React code. So for example, I'll look at this terraced house category interest segment here. You'll be able to see in here is an ID value for the element that we're going to actually target on the page. This is how it connects. We'll go back to that in a moment and it will become a bit more clear. That's really all there is to it for the placement itself. Next, we need to set up segment, which is in here. Again, we have this category interest terrace segment. It doesn't have to be named the same, it's just for clarity really. So editing this, you can see we've got a product view rule set up here. So this is saying in the terraced house category, you can see I can select any of these categories here. The visitor has viewed any products more than or equal to 3 times. Each page loads counted as a view, so you can change how the page views are actually counted. And again, that's really all there is to it for the segment. There's a bit of stuff in here if you want to add a description. And then finally, we'll need a modification setting up, which can be found in here. So here we've got category interest terrace. Got this handy graph here showing you how many times this has actually been displayed. And most importantly, in display options here, we select the placement which we created earlier, and then a bit further down we need to select this segment. So the visitor is in one of the following segments, and we selected the category interest terrace segment. That's the main part of the Frosmo UI setup. Now I'm going to take you through the actual React implementation. So this is where it starts to get a bit technical. The actual installation of Frosmo is extremely quick and easy. Any of you that have done front-end development in the last few years will be familiar with NPM, which is a package manager that's pretty much ubiquitous. It's a very simple installation of the Frosmo package using NPM. And then you simply add these two script includes in your main index layout here. And okay, so now I'm going to show you the home page view. Oh, let me just get my syntax highlighting right here. Okay. So in here, this file, by the way, is just representing what you see on the home page. So most of this is Frosmo related, and here we go. This is the actual product listing stuff here. But anyway, so we're importing the Frosmo placement component here from that NPM package. Very simple. And then there's a few instances where we're using it on the page, but the relevant one for the demo is this one here. As you can see, this ID here matches up to the ID we set up in the placement earlier. That's how the two get connected. This default component property just accepts a React component. This will be displayed to anyone who doesn't match the segment. In our case, it's just empty. And again, going back to what Rika was saying earlier, anything within these tags will be displayed to anyone matching the personalization segment. So here we've got this category promo. We're passing it our product data, which is coming in from Contentful. It's being filtered down to products in the terraced category. I'll just move this along so you can see that there. And then if I move over to the actual demo, I should be able to see all this in action. So you might be able to see here, I'm getting a welcome back personalization banner. So this is working from another rule that I've already got previously set up. This is just recognizing that I've been to the site before. And again, so let's test out this terraced house segment. So if I view a few terraced houses, I think I may have already viewed one earlier, so it's either going to be 2 or 3 page views here that gets us our personalization. Let's have another one here. Okay, yeah, so I've already obviously viewed a terraced house before because we are now getting this category promo. So this will only be displayed to anyone who's registered as being interested in terraced houses. All it's doing is just listing the items that are flagged as terraced houses in the CMS. So I think the power of this personalization platform is fairly immediately apparent. That pretty much concludes the live part of the demo. But yeah, I just wanted to say I've personally had an extremely smooth experience integrating Frosmo into React. From a developer's point of view, the experience is really nice. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up from me.
Thanks, James and Martin. I think it was really nice to see, because now first Rowan and myself, we were presenting more of the theory behind the softwares, and then to see them both in action as well. But I think that's all from us today. So thank you all for watching, and thank you Rowan, Martin and James for hosting this webinar with me. And I think it was really insightful also for myself to hear what you guys were showing. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.